welcome to this week's edition of the SRT Power 10. This week at number 10, we have the UCF, what are they? Knights. Golden Knights.
That's them.
At number 9, we had the TCU Horned Frogs. At number 8, we had the Miami Hurricane, after their tumble back from number 1, facing Pittsburgh. Number 7, we have the Ohio State Buckeyes. At number 6, we have the UGA Bulldogs, Georgia that is. And number 5, for the first time in the history of our poll, Alabama fell from the number 1 spot all the way down to number 5 in our poll.
That's big. Deservedly so.
The top 4 now consist of Clemson with 37 points, Wisconsin with 41 points, Auburn with 2 big wins over number 1s in the last 3 weeks, 42 points, and our number 1 team this week is the Oklahoma Sooners, and they had a grand total of 48 points. Notes from this week's Power 10. Auburn moved up from number 6 to number 2 in one of our biggest moves. Let's see. New entry into the poll was the TCU Horned Frogs. The biggest drops were Miami from 3 to 8 was the biggest drop. And let's see, new to the Big Four, as we already mentioned, were Clemson and Auburn. This week's games in our Big Four will consist of TCU meeting Oklahoma in Jerry World for the Big 12 title. Auburn will face UGA at the Benz. Ohio State faces Wisconsin, or will play Wisconsin at Lucas Oil in Indiana. And in Charlotte, they will host the ACC title game, Clemson versus the Miami Hurricane. And just for ish and giggles, the Memphis Tigers, baby, will take on the UCF Knights. Down there.
Game,
that's right. They'll be down at the Big Mouse House in Orlando. So we'll see what happens with those Tigers, and they can put up some points, baby.
Before we move on, Sabrina, we will talk about that in our roundtable discussion. She was asking what would it take for basically Bama to get in if one of the teams lose. So we will talk about that in our roundtable discussion, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, and those were all the big games that we'll look at this week. Just to touch on a little bit, what do you think about Auburn and Georgia round 2, D. Will?
Well, I'm gonna tell you like this. Vegas has it as a 2 point 2 points for Auburn, right? Auburn's favored by 2. So that's basically a pick'em game.
Right.
And the thing is, Auburn hadn't won a game of any significance outside of Jordan Hare. So what are we gonna get from Auburn? I really believe Georgia has the upper hand because I don't know how Auburn is going to play away from Jordan Hare.
I think, playing 2 big games in 3 weeks, coming off a big emotional game in Iron Bowl, I think this is going to kind of be tough for Auburn to get it up again. That's what I think. What about the ACC game? You think Miami bounces back to play Syracuse, Big Dog? I mean, not Syracuse, to play Clemson.
Well, Syracuse did beat Clemson.
Yeah, Clemson won't Syracuse again. I think Clemson is starting to get their mojo back. Not sure if we've seen Miami get up from a loss this season because this is their first time losing. So we don't know how their recovery is at this particular point. I look for a tough game, a very hype game. Neutral field, I think Clemson got all the weapons. It'll be difficult to kind of tell who has the advantage. But if I had to pick something, I think Clemson's front line is definitely the difference, in my opinion. If Kelly Bryant continues to, strive, and we talked about Malik Rozier.
Right.
He has the defense has carried him in a lot of games, and I think Clemson will force Malik Rozier to try to beat them. And I don't know if he can live up to that expectation.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you,
I'm sorry,
but the reason I agree with you, and I believe that benching in that late drive in the Pittsburgh game that Mark Richt did, that asinine move he made, I believe that could have hurt Malik Rozier's confidence somewhat.
Yeah, kind of tough. Yeah. Okay, well, that wraps it up. Big G, I do want to ask you something about the Big 12 game. Oh, I'm sorry, the Big Ten game.
Go ahead. We got a little time.
Okay, on that Big Ten game, if Wisconsin gets beat by by Ohio State, does that open the door for Alabama?
Yeah, I know we'll get that in the second hour.
Yeah.
I think for Alabama to get in, they need Georgia to win, and they need Wisconsin. They need one of the other three to lose too. So they need two of those top four to lose.
Yeah.
Okay, well that wraps up the Power 10 this week. They'll have the Final Four on Sunday, and I guess we'll come back in and talk about it on next week.
Yeah, it is. You already know.
Sports Roundtable. Who? SRT.